where the body of the late Biwott has been moved to after he was pronounced dead at the Nairobi hospital. And if you're just joining us, family and friends of the late Biwott had just finished addressing the press. And this is what we know so far, that he was pronounced dead at Nairobi hospital today. And that they're going to make public or tell us more on the next plan of action that they have as far as the burial arrangement is concerned. And now in studio, I'm with Lillian. Now, Lillian, this is the third incident I've already indicated. We had Gigi Kariuki passed on earlier last week. We've had the Interior Cabinet Secretary, Joseph Kaiseri, and now Biwott. It's a trying moment for the country, right?
A very trying moment, Yusuf. Losing three towering political figures, if you want to call it, in a span of within a month. Really, the country is at a loss. Honorable Biwott is a third senior, one of the most senior statesmen, passing in just, if I would say, a span of 2 weeks. Just a couple of weeks ago, we are yet to bury Honorable Gigi Kariuki, actually one of the longest serving members of Parliament. Yes. Now Senator for Laikipia. We just lost Joseph Kaiseri over the weekend. Yes. And now Honorable Biwott, really, and seeing nostalgic seeing the former CBK governor there, Mika Cheserem, one of the people who are really credited for, reforming the financial sector in this country, coming out to eulogize Biwott. Really, it's a trying moment for the country going into just a few weeks into an election. It's really a trying moment for the country.
I'm checking at the various ministerial positions Biwott has served right from 1982 up until 2002. That is, of course, when Moi left power. And I'm looking at the ministries served from the year 1999 to 2001. That is the Ministry of Trade, and then we have Industry, Trade and Industry, and then we have Tourism, and then East Africa Cooperation. That is about 3 ministries or about 4 ministries in one. Perhaps does that tell how powerful he was?
Exactly. He was an industrious man. That explains why he managed to really cut a clean line between his successes when it comes to his management of his business empire, as well as, successfully manage key ministries single-handedly. And like I said, sometimes most of these ministries were collapsed into one, like trade, tourism, industry, and East African affairs, all merged into one. And he successfully managed both of them, all of them. With a clean track record. Yeah. But at the same time, like I said, he cared about possibly posterity. Yes. And that is why he always fought to clean his name. Remember, as much as, yes, he was a shrewd businessman, a shrewd manager who really cared about results, he also cared about his image. And that is why when he was adversely mentioned in reports, like I said, the reports in history in this country, for instance, the Akiumi report.
Yeah, actually, my next question was that, as much as he has illustrious career, there's some other, dark sides of him.
There are dark sides of him that he was mentioned in, and he kept fighting to clean his name. I remember during the Akiumi Commission of Inquiry, also into post-election skirmishes in the 90s, he was adversely mentioned. And actually, the Akiumi Commission recommended, he was one of the people who were recommended for further investigation or prosecution. But Biwott fought through it all to clear his name or to have his name expunged from that report. So as much as he was a guy of, he was a man of, double worlds, if you want to call it.
At one point, he was listed among Kenya's top 10 corporate taxpayers. That's interesting.
Very interesting. At some point, there was also another story that Biwott never even used his salary as a minister, that all his money was meant for charity. He took all his money for charity. And people tell us that in his office at Teleposta, for instance, when he was the powerful minister for tourism, trade and industry, there was a queue of people lining up every morning, to go and get handouts. And so therefore, Biwott also signifies the other side of Kenya's political past that was always very used to greasing fingers. Remember the syndrome that the country has really fought over. You know, that you always, he used to, people knew that when you went to Biwott, your problems would be solved. He was going to give you, money for daily upkeep. So therefore, it became a tradition that people woke up and lined up at his office to go and get handouts.
Let me get back to the earlier question I had for you, and that is all about the relationship he had with then President Daniel Arap Moi. You had already indicated that it was much more personal. It wasn't just professional. Even at some point, were they even business partners?
Exactly. And remember, like one of the mourners there at Leaf and Roll Home told us, they had calculated a relationship from the 50s, right? And so he was a man who had built trust with the president then. And therefore, like I said again, he really had the president's ear. The president believed in him. And sort of people say, the President Moi had a kitchen cabinet. So the kitchen cabinet, was one of the few very core people that formed a ring around the president, the inner core of the president's advisory team. And President Nicholas Biwott was one of them.
And one thing that came clear for us during that press briefing by his family members is that some of his, PAs, people who used to work with him then, are still working for him up until now. Exactly.
He remained very loyal, I think, to his friends. And that is, you can tell as something that will carry with him beyond his grave. It's a character that he will carry beyond his grave. He remained loyal to his friends. He remained very loyal to his political, his political convictions. Until, like I said, he remained very loyal to KANU. He broke away. He remained loyal even to the president. And like this PA says, he remained loyal to the president and the deputy president, despite the fact that he had his own
political party. Speaking about KANU, of course, he went over and formed his own party. That is the leader. He was the leader of the National Vision Party. Can you picture for us how his political life was? As much as he was a towering figure in the Rift Valley, towards his death, his political life was a bit fading because he lost his seat in the year 2002 after a record 29 years. He moved from KANU, formed his own political party. Was he trying to, figure out where he will be going to, politically speaking?
Biwott's political life can very easily be summed up as, the story of KANU, as it were, that also began to fade in the 2002 during the clamor, for what the opposition called the second liberation. Just as President Moi was exiting the stage, and therefore when everybody else that was loyal to KANU and those of President Moi's generation began to fade out from the scene. So that is sort of the same political story that would easily be written of Nicholas Biwott. Of course, he remained within KANU to fight on. He actually wanted to take over the leadership of the party even after the president left the stage. But he still lost. He still lost. So it was a generational thing that you can say, that the tragedy that befell KANU in 2002, that now KANU, it took KANU time to re-energize itself and come back to a national stage right now and play with a big political league. Yes.
Lillian, perhaps one final question, and that is if we have enough time. He is being referred to as a man who was very much, he used to protect the president very much. That is President Moi. And on Sabasaba Day, we just marked that day just the other day, was it about 2-3 days ago? And of course, Kenyans came together, to remember the struggle for multi-party and democracy and everything. By then, we had strong men in President Daniel Arap Moi's government, and one of them is Nicholas Biwott.
Exactly. That's why I said President Honorable Nicholas Biwott is a man, when history is written,
he'll feature, of course,
his story will feature very prominently. When we talk about the excesses of the regime of the 1990s, Nicholas Biwott's name keeps cropping up. That he could have possibly contributed to the political excesses and the decisions that led a lot of people into detentions. And so that part of history remains engraved in Nicholas Biwott's persona. But at the end of the day, Nicholas Biwott remained fighting to clear his name to the grave.
Speaking about, his mysterious character once again, we had the briefing there from his family members who are saying that they're going to give us the details on what they're going to plan next as far as the burial arrangement is concerned. Should we expect them to tell us perhaps what he was ailing from? Because, it has never been clear. It has never been the public domain.
Exactly. At this time, now that Biwott has passed on, I'm sure there's a lot of questions in the minds of Kenyans. What was ailing Honorable Biwott? And I want to assume that the most honorable thing to do is that we've been told there that possibly a post-mortem is going to be conducted, that that report is going to be made public for Kenyans to know, just for the sake of, peace, so that, people make peace with what could have happened to him. There's been a lot of speculations. Some say that he could have been suffering from prostate cancer, but that again just remains speculation until the family and the doctors come out to give us a full report. Really, everything else at this stage remains speculative.
Lillian, you've been very resourceful, I must say. Stay with us here still. But for now, let's join Honorable Jackson Kiptoo, who represents Keyo South. That is the constituency where the late Nicholas Biwott comes from. And a very good afternoon, sir. This is Yusuf Ibrahim from KTN. What is your reaction towards this information that we received, the death of Nicholas Biwott?
Thank you very much. This is Honorable Jackson Kiptoo, the Member of Parliament for Keyo South constituency, and I wish to pass my sincere condolences to the family, relatives and friends of the late Honorable Nicholas Biwott. We have received the sad news this morning, and us from this region of Elgeyo Marakwet, people from North Rift and the country at large, we are very saddened by the passing on of Mheshimiwa Nicholas Biwott. This is a man who was able to do so many things for this country. In terms of development, he was able to do quite a number of projects in my constituency.
Yes.
When he was the Member of Parliament for this region. And when I took over from him as the current Member of Parliament, he was very, very supportive. For the last 10 years, I've been the Member of Parliament for this region. And I can say that we have lost a great leader, a friend, and a man who was development conscious. And the man behind, I can say he was a powerful man behind the Moi regime for the many years. He was the president of this nation.
Honorable Kiptoo, one final question perhaps. This is a man you've been sitting on, different sides, politically speaking, and he was your competitor some time back. How will you describe him?
I can say that he was a great leader. For your information, when I took over from him in 2008, he continued to do quite a number of developments in my constituency, and he became a good friend of mine. I can say that he was a great leader, a true leader, a man who had a vision, and he did a lot for this nation. Yeah.
Now, Honorable Kiptoo, this is a man who has been referred to as, total man because of his grip during, into power during President Moi's regime. How was it like to face him? Was it some sort of a David versus Goliath contest?
Yes, when I stood before him in 2007, 2008, many people thought that my life would be endangered. But he was not fearful the way people were fearing. I can say that he was a worthy competitor, and as much as he was very powerful, the campaigns during that time were peaceful, and he accepted. When I got more votes than him, he accepted, and he conceded very fast and said, "I'll support Kiptoo to proceed to lead these constituencies."
Honorable Kiptoo, this is a man who is never used to defeats. He has been, once again, a very senior member during President Moi's time. So after you won that race, did he give you a call, or perhaps what was it like?
when I won the elections in 2008, he went to the press and he conceded defeat. And from then henceforth, he continued to work with me. And I can say that from 2008 to date, we have been attending quite a number of functions with him. And in most cases, when we meet in a function, he would ask me who will be the guest of honor. Is it him or me? If it's me, then he would say, if you are giving 100,000, he was going to give less because he was respecting. He said he always respects leaders who have been elected by the people. And I can say that the mood in the constituency, people are very sad because he was the man who served for, I think, the longest. He served as a member of parliament for 28 years. And I could be right to say that he was the longest serving cabinet minister during Moi's regime.
Honorable Jackson, the news of his death, how has it been received by your constituents?
Most people are yet to believe. They still think that maybe it's rumors because they liked him and he was a friend to many people. And he was able to assist quite a number of the constituents for the time he was the member of parliament. And even after I defeated him, he continued to serve in so many other capacities in this constituency. And he has been supporting quite a number of students and quite a number of his friends in education circles. And even one of his schools called Maria Sote, he has been sponsoring quite a number of students who are needy in that school of his.
Thanks, Honorable Jackson Kiptoo there for your input. Our condolences here from KTN for your loss. Now, Lillian, from what Honorable Jackson there had said, you know, this is a man who defeated Biwott after 29 or is it 28 years in power as KEO, a member of parliament. And he has already indicated that after Biwott lost, he went ahead and gave him a call and, you know, congratulated him. That is very uncharacteristic of Kenyan politicians.
Exactly, and that is the other side of Nicholas Biwott that I think a lot of people did not get to enjoy. That despite, you know, the dark cloud that surrounded his persona, there was another side of life to him that a lot of people didn't know. You can see how a lot of people who knew him are talking very passionately about his caring side, and that he was not that animalistic, if you want to call it, for lack of a better word, that he had a softer side, a softer side. He cared about important things, social welfare, the education of people who could not afford a better education. And so these are things that I think as we move along, there are stories that are unwritten stories about the persona of one Nicholas Kiptoo Biwott that we are going to keep hearing over and over.
And despite the rainbow, you know, euphoria by then in the year 2002, he still managed to capture his seat. Was in 2002. He lost it in 2007. And I'm sure you've covered the 2007 general election. The next day, how was it like? I'm sure he was in the splash as one of the big losers.
Exactly. Nicholas Biwott was, you know, one of these people who had, you know, an iron hold on anything that he touched. And therefore, when that political transition came to pass, you know, the big names that began to fall by the wayside because of the so-called second liberation euphoria, Nicholas Biwott being among them. But interestingly, just like President Moi had set the pace by leaving the stage in a very peaceful manner, that generation of leaders also decided to step aside
and follow suit.
And follow suit. And that's that's an interesting story about Kenyan elections that, you know, we rarely talk about. 2007 was an ugly phase of elections in this country. But at the same time, there are unwritten stories as well of courage and people who stood by integrity
and, for
and followed exactly. And
thank you, Lillian, for that. Of course, I'm going to come back to you once again. For now, let's cross over live to KU South. That is the